November 24, 1971. A man dressed in a dark business suit walked into an airport, bought a one-way ticket, and quietly took his seat. It was a completely ordinary start to a flight that would end in one of the most famous crimes in American history. He hijacked the plane, extorted $200,000 in cash, and then jumped into the freezing darkness from 10,000 feet. He was never seen again. No body was ever recovered from the woods below, and his true identity remains a mystery to this day. More than half a century later, the case is still unsolved. How did a seemingly normal man execute a mid-air heist and vanish without leaving a single trace behind? The suspect, who called himself Dan Cooper, appeared at Portland International Airport looking remarkably ordinary. He seemed to be in his mid-40s, wearing a white shirt, a black tie, and a dark business suit. He boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305 for what should have been a 30-minute trip to Seattle. Shortly after takeoff, he handed a note to a flight attendant, who assumed it was just a passenger's phone number. He leaned in and told her she should read it immediately. The note claimed he had a bomb in his briefcase. When he opened the case to show her, she saw a series of red cylinders connected by wires. He wasn't bluffing. Cooper stayed calm and polite throughout the ordeal. This quiet, controlled behavior, paired with the threat of an explosion, left the crew with no choice but to follow his instructions. This diagram shows the scale of his demands: exactly $200,000 in cash and 4 separate parachutes. While the plane circled Seattle, the FBI and local police scrambled to meet the requirements. They gathered the money and sourced the parachutes from a local skydiving school. Once the plane landed, the exchange was made. Cooper received the money and the gear, and in return he allowed every passenger on board to walk away unharmed. At this point, authorities hoped the crisis was ending. In reality, Cooper's true escape plan was only just beginning. With only the pilot and a small crew remaining, the Boeing 727 took off again, heading south toward Mexico. Outside, the weather was worsening. The plane flew through heavy clouds and freezing rain, buffeted by strong winds in the dead of night. Around 8 p.m., Cooper ordered the remaining crew into the cockpit and closed the door. He was now completely alone in the cabin. Suddenly, a warning light flashed in the cockpit. The aft staircase had been lowered. Somewhere over the Washington wilderness, Cooper stepped out into the storm with the money and vanished. By the time the plane landed in Reno, he was nowhere to be found. The FBI launched one of the most extensive searches in its history. Agents and volunteers combed through miles of dense forest and rugged mountains, interviewing thousands of suspects. The search turned up nothing. No body, no parachute, and no evidence that anyone had ever landed in the target area. The case remained cold until 1980, when an 8-year-old boy digging along the Columbia River found 3 bundles of decaying cash buried in the sand. Forensic analysis confirmed these bills were part of the ransom. The serial numbers matched the records kept by the FBI since the night of the hijacking. This discovery provided the only physical evidence ever found. It proved the cash reached the ground, but it only deepened the confusion. Was the money buried by Cooper himself, or did it wash downstream from a body that was never found? Some believe Cooper was a veteran with specialized jump training, a man who survived the storm and lived out the rest of his life under a new name. Others argue he was an amateur who miscalculated the jump. They believe he likely died on impact, with his remains hidden forever by the thick Pacific Northwest terrain. In 2016, after 45 years of investigation and no definitive answers, the FBI officially suspended the case. Because we have no final answers, D.B. Cooper has transitioned from a criminal suspect to a permanent legend of American folklore. What do you think happened to him in the darkness of that November night? Let us know your theories in the comments below.